Have you heard of Nayib Bukele? He's El Salvador's president, also known as the world's coolest dictator. Bukele claims he has won the election with over 85% of the vote. The official results are yet to be announced, but Bukele says he is the winner and he is quite popular in El Salvador. He waged a war on gangs, which turned him into a national hero. Since 2022, Bukele's government has arrested more than 75,000 gangsters. Homicide levels have plummeted to an all-time low. He is by far Latin America's most popular leader, but there are fears of human rights abuses and centralization of power. None of that seems to bother him, though. He says his next target is fixing the economy. Our next report tells you all about El Salvador's unapologetic dictator.
A sharp beard, slicked back hair, a glossy leather motorcycle jacket, and a selfie with Lionel Messi. Nayib Armando Bukele Ortez was only 37 when he became the president of El Salvador. An outsider in politics, he now calls himself the world's coolest dictator. Bukele was born in 1981 in the capital, San Salvador. He is of Palestinian heritage. He joined his father's textile business but soon ditched that for politics. He first served as the mayor of a San Salvador suburb, then became the mayor of the capital, and in 2019 he became the president. He rode the popular sentiment, marketing himself as the outsider candidate. He's also a social media whiz. He takes to X, formerly known as Twitter, to talk to voters. He posts on YouTube and Facebook. Unsurprisingly, he's also not a fan of criticism, but his fans love him. The people are devoted to him. He's almost a cult-like personality, often known as Latin America's most popular leader. What makes him particularly popular is his war on gangs. El Salvador has a long history of gang violence. In the last 30 years, it has claimed over 120,000 civilian lives. When Bukele took power, gangs controlled 80% of the country. But Bukele vowed to change that. In 2022, he introduced a state of emergency. 75,000 gangsters were rounded up. It didn't matter whether they were real or suspected. All of them were sent to prison. There were accusations of human rights abuses, allegations of authoritarianism, but none of that mattered to Bukele or to the people of El Salvador. That's because the country's homicide rate has plummeted. It was once the most dangerous in the world. Now it's at its lowest level in 3 decades, even lower than the global average.
We have started to defeat our biggest evil. We are on the cusp of winning the war against the gangs. Literally, it's not an exaggeration. It's not a hyperbole. Literally, we went from being the most dangerous country in the world to being the most secure in all of the Western Hemisphere.
But bringing gang violence under control is not the only thing that Bukele did. He also had the military storm the parliament. He replaced judges he considered hostile and oversaw the jailing of innocent people. But none of that affected his re-election bid. The official results are not out yet, but he claims to have won with 85% of the votes, a win that he calls a record in the entire democratic history of the world.
In all the history of the world, since the existence of democracy, never has a project won with the quantity of votes that we have won. Literally, it's the highest percentage in all of history, the highest difference between first and second place in history.
Salvadorians may have newfound peace, all thanks to Bukele's crackdown. But his second term will have new hurdles, like the economy. He may have an overwhelming second-term mandate, but El Salvador's economy is fragile. There is high public debt. Over 30% of the population lives in poverty, and consumer prices are rapidly rising. Salvadorians may be getting used to living without fear, but if Bukele doesn't act fast on the economy, the honeymoon period may soon come to an end.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on First Post America.